Underdog released weekly winners for the regular season this year, and I loved it mostly because I thought most of the people who entered the drafts were just playing it completely wrong, not having any kind of focus, no plan to their lineups. Now we have playoff weekly winners, and I think that that's happening even more. People go into these drafts without any kind of plan for what they're trying to win in these contests, and I think that there is massive edge. I'm going to talk about that edge in this video. While you're coming in, please like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. Of course, before I get into the strategy, I'm going to go over the structure a little bit, explain how this contest works. And of course, if you have not already signed up for Underdog, you can use promo code Orfield to get your first deposit matched up to $100. That's just my last name, ORFIELD. You'll get your first deposit matched up to $100. All right. So I'm on the Underdog homepage, and you have to scroll a little bit to find it. You have to go all the way to the right to find the weekly winners contest. There's a lot of contests here on Underdog. Here you go, playoff weekly winners. This is the second contest that they've run with the exact same format as the first one. It's $10 to enter. It's $5,000 to first every week. So this is how the format works. So for weekly winners, you draft a team. It's just like best ball in terms of how the draft works. You enter. If you're going to be put into a draft with 5 other drafters, so 6 total of you drafting together, and it's just people who sign up at the same time, so you enter at the same time as you are going to be grouped together. You draft against those 5 other players, but you're drafting 10 total. So there's 10 rounds. You're drafting 10 total players to fill a lineup each week of 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 pass catchers, so wide receivers and tight ends both qualify, and then 1 flex player, which can be anybody but the quarterback. So any wide receiver, tight end, or running back qualifies for that flex player. So you draft 10 players every week. 5 of your players are going to score points within that format. The beautiful thing about weekly winners, one way that it differs from regular playoff best ball, is you don't need to advance. After you draft your team, you're done. Your best player is going to be put in automatically, just like best ball, but you don't need to advance in weekly winners. Your team is going to be live every week of the playoffs. So from wild card weekend to the Super Bowl, your team is going to be active. Of course, any of your players who get knocked out, if the Rams lose in round 1, any of your Rams players are going to be getting 0 points after the wild card round. So keep that in mind for weekly winners. Yes, your team is active every week, but your players may not be if they get once their team is eliminated. So the cool thing about weekly winners, or one of the cool things, is it's the exact same structure each week. So you're drafting once, but you're essentially entering 4 contests with that team that you draft, because every week, as you can see here, 100K in total prizes and 25,000 paid out each week. So wildcard weekend, it's $25,000 prize pool. Super Bowl weekend, $25,000 prize pool. All of the 4 weeks is 25K total. First place gets 5,000, second 3,000, third 2,000, and so on. As you can see here, it only goes to 500 total people get paid each week out of 11,160. So very, very few people actually get paid out relative to like DFS, other types of contests. But that's because people get paid out every week. So a total of 2,000 lineups across those 4 weeks are going to get paid out. And that's more along the lines of like DFS. But this is the payout structure. Even, I mean, 101st to 500, you're still just getting your money back. It's not like you're making bank getting into the top 500. You really need to do a little bit better than that to really make some money in weekly winners. And that's where I think the edge is I think a lot of people, I should say, I know a lot of people don't really have a strategy, or I think are playing it wrong just based on the people I've drafted. A lot of drafters don't really seem to have any kind of strategy. They don't seem to be focusing on any specific week. They'll draft Lamar Jackson and then also Cooper Kupp, which could happen. I mean, if the Rams make it to round 2, obviously that is both could score points in the same week. But drafters are taking players from 8 different teams on the same roster, and I really don't think it makes a ton of sense to play that way. I think, so getting to the strategy portion of weekly winners, I think the big edge in weekly winners is choosing the specific round that you're trying to win. You're not trying to, sure, it'd be fun if you could win every week and, make $20,000 doing this, win every single week. I don't think it's realistic to win every single week. I really think you should be drafting focused on one specific week. So that could be, if you want to focus on the wild card round, just don't draft any 49ers or Ravens. Draft players that are going to be active in that first round. Take the studs across several teams. I think that is viable. To me, the best round to draft for is the Super Bowl, because at that point, you're just dealing with two teams. So you only need the best players from two teams. If you're drafting for the wild card round, there are going to be six different games played in the wild card round, 12 teams. So you have to hit the nuts across 12 teams if you're playing for the wild card round. Certainly, you can do it. You're probably better off drafting for that round than not having any kind of strategy. But I think that the better approach is to try to focus on those later rounds. So the Super Bowl, conference champion, even divisional round, you're down to four total games and eight teams. So you just cut the number of players that you need to get right later on in the field. So to me, the best approach when I go into a draft, I'm trying to draft for a Super Bowl. I'm trying to find the best players from two Super Bowl contending teams, draft the best possible teams for the Super Bowl. And I really just draft from two teams typically. I think that the best approach, or at least that is my intent going into drafts, is generally to just draft players from two teams, obviously focusing on the structure of quarterback, running back, two pass catchers, and a flex. You want to draft within those positions for those two teams. Make sure that you have a full active roster from those two teams. But that's generally my approach. Is I want to take 10 players from just the two teams that I expect to be in the Super Bowl. And in different drafts, I'm drafting different combos, one AFC team, one NFC team. Maybe some draft is going to be the Ravens and the 49ers, and then another draft it's going to be the Eagles and the Chiefs. You can do different types of combos, but usually I'm drafting from teams that I think are live to make it to the Super Bowl. And I think that that really gives you a lot of edge because if you have 10 players from the two teams that make it to the Super Bowl and you're taking the best players possible from those rounds, you're going to just have a huge advantage on any team that is drafting. I mean, if the teams that are drafting from eight different teams, those teams are all dead. But even teams that are drafting from five different teams, you're going to have a huge advantage on those teams if you can have combos making up 10 different players to fill five roster spots from the two teams in the Super Bowl. I think you're at a massive advantage. And that is the easiest way to find edge in playoff weekly winners, is just to draft for the Super Bowl. One side benefit is if you get it right, or even if you don't get it right, if you draft two teams that just make it to the conference championship, you're still going to have 10 players active in the conference championship. You're going to be live to win there when a lot of teams are going to have players from eliminated teams. So to me, the best approach, you try to draft for the Super Bowl. Sometimes you're going to get sniped. So like say you start building out for Ravens Eagles and then somebody takes both Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. It happens. It has happened to me before where I've taken AJ Brown with the fifth pick, and then the person at the turn takes both Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. It's not a good approach. You probably shouldn't be. Probably shouldn't be doing that. But it's happened to me several times. You got to adjust at that point. Change who you are playing to be in the Super Bowl at that point. And sometimes I'm even forced to say, you know what, I've started building for this team. The quarterbacks both get sniped. Now I'm going to focus on the conference championship instead. So, I can't have either of the quarterbacks from the teams I was building for to be in the Super Bowl. I'm going to just take a quarterback that I think could make it to the conference championship game. And now I'm going to focus on that week. So you got to be agile. You got to adjust your strategy as you go. But I think you should go into these with the intent of building for the Super Bowl. I think that is where the biggest edge is because there are just the fewest teams and the most combos that you can fill. The toughest week to me is going to be probably the wild card weekend round. The divisional round also pretty tough because you need to nail the teams that get there, and you're still dealing with a lot of teams. So I think those two are the toughest to win. So to me, the best approach is just to not really think about those rounds. Try to think about which teams you think are going to make it to the Super Bowl, or at the very least the conference championship. Those are the easiest rounds to win for playoff weekly winners. And I love that everybody has a different approach because that just eliminates a lot of the teams that are in the pool that have a chance to win in those later rounds. I love that everybody has a different approach here for playoff weekly winners. I think it is a really fun contest, a lot of different angles to it, and really a good shot to win this. It's easier than like a DFS contest because, as I said, a lot of the teams are just not going to be live to win the weeks that you are focused on. Hit that like button, please, if you have not already done so. Of course, use promo code Orfield or the link in the description of this video when you sign up to get that first deposit matched up to $100. Hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions. My DMs are open at PlayerQDFS. Thanks for watching and good luck this year.